And next we're going to move on to the 3 best ways to stretch the hamstrings. So if you didn't know, these muscles here are the hamstrings, the backs of the thighs. And if they are too tight, they pull the pelvis under. So they make you go in this position here, okay? Now, they may be too tight if you, as I mentioned with Darren earlier, if you're a cyclist, if you spend too long sitting at a desk throughout the day because your hips are in a flexed position and so are your lower legs, so it shortens the hamstrings. There can be a variety of reasons. A lot of footballers, etc., that use a lot of propulsion in their movements have tight hamstrings. And I think a lot of us are guilty of not really stretching enough. If we go running, if we go cycling, we can often think that stretching is kind of, we'll do it when we can, but it's not compulsory, but it really should be. So 3 best hamstring stretches. The first one is lying on the back, okay? And either with a stretchy exercise band or with your hands, just going to take hold of that leg. Now don't take hold of it behind the knee because that will just encourage you to bend it, okay? Keep it low down. Now your leg may be here, in which case, you can use a dressing gown belt or a normal belt because it's a bit easier. Or, it could be up here, it's fine, it doesn't matter. As long as you bring your leg to the point where it stretches, but just before it wants to bend, okay? So we're going to hold that, and you want to hold it for up to about 2 minutes. If you want a more permanent length change in the muscles, rather than just a quick temporary stretch, anything 2 minutes upwards is really going to help you achieve that. And stretching, whilst we're on the subject, is about regularity. It's better to do stretches every single day for 2 minutes than it is to think, oh, I've got an hour on a Sunday, I'm going to do a crazy stretch session, because all that will happen is your muscles will just go and just recoil because they've been overstretched and they're just not used to it. So regularity is the key with stretching. The other thing you can add on to that stretch is, oh, by the way, this supporting leg, the one on the floor, can either be bent, yep, or it can be straight. It's harder if the leg is straight because that makes this muscle stretch a bit more, so it's a bit easier if it's bent. But be careful that your tailbone doesn't come off the mat and you don't round the back. But another little tip you can do with this hamstring stretch is to bring the knee in towards the chest as close as you can, straighten the leg as much as possible, and then flex the foot. So bring your toes towards the nose. Hold it for about 10 seconds and then relax it, okay? So what we did there is bring the knee into the chest, straighten the leg as much as possible. It won't straighten fully, chances are. And then flex the foot a little bit deeper, hold it, and then release. So you can do either of those 2. That was the first of my stretches. The second one is passive against the wall. So I'm going to hope that you can see me here. And it's literally just popping your legs up against the wall. Now, your bottom might be quite far away from the wall at first, which is fine. And all you do is aim to get closer and closer so that eventually your bottom is touching the wall and your legs are directly vertical as well. This is really lovely because it's passive. As I said, you're not kind of struggling with the arms and trying to yank the leg closer to you. You can just lay there and relax as much as possible anyway. So that's a great one. 5-10 minutes, legs up in the air, great for the circulation as well. So that's number 2, hamstring stretch. The third one is more complicated, so just before we get to but it's very, very effective, ridiculously effective. Just before we get to it, hamstring stretches that you should avoid are anything where you bend forwards like this. Once you know how to do that safely and you don't have any back issues, it's fine, because you'll learn to engage the abdominals correctly and come up and over. But many people just kind of throw themselves into this rounded position, and the same thing as we mentioned earlier, rounded over, trying to stretch the backs of the legs. So don't do that one. Anything that involves leaning forwards over the leg is going to load the back too much. I know I keep repeating that, but it's very true. You want to have the back flat on the mat, take it out of the equation, so gravity is out out of the equation, and then bring the leg into the air. When your back is flat on the floor, it's very unlikely to round. When your leg is in the air or on the back of the sofa or wherever, you're much more likely to end up in this rounded position. And whilst I said before you will get a hamstring stretch, you're also going to be damaging your back at the same time. So the third hamstring stretch, and this one is slightly more complicated, as I mentioned earlier. So and I'll try and explain it as best I can. It's a particular muscle energy technique. But what it involves is a partner, somebody that you trust, definitely. And what they will do is they will be standing here behind your leg, and they will just start to bring the leg towards you until they feel a little bit of resistance, okay? And you can also verbalize, you can tell them, stop there, that's enough, I can feel a stretch. And what you'll do at that point is you will push into their hands as hard as you can, as if you were trying to get your leg down to the floor. At the same time, they will resist and they won't let you push. So there'll be a little fight going on between your legs and their hands resisting. And you do that for 10 seconds. Once the 10 seconds is over, they stop resisting, you stop pushing, and then the leg will come a little bit closer. And your partner will be encouraging that leg a bit closer as well. And then you'll find a new point, which is your new kind of resistance point, and it'll be slightly further towards you. And you repeat that process. You try and push your leg down, they try and push it back towards you, but they must be sensible and not suddenly just, launch it towards your face. It's a partnership kind of resistance, and you can, as I said, keep being verbal and vocal all the way through to say that's a bit too much, or I can tolerate a bit more. And again, do that like little fight off, that resistance for 10 seconds, pushing, pulling, pushing and pulling, both of you, 10 seconds. When you stop that, again, the leg will go a little bit further. And what's happening with this technique is that the muscle fibers get confused. They can't remember where they started, because you've got this push, pull, and then it stops and they go, oh, where am I? And then you're able to stretch a little bit further and find that next resistance point. You do the push and pull there, then it stops, and again they're like, oh, confused, where did we start from? And you'll be able to push the leg a little bit deeper. I hope that makes sense. Drop me a comment if it did make sense or if it didn't, and I'll try and explain it in another way. But as I said, it's really important that you do that last one with somebody that you trust, that isn't going to force your leg into too strong a stretch for your capability. The other thing is also to make sure that your back is flat on the mat and that the tailbone, your bottom, doesn't tuck off as you're pushing that leg towards you. So hopefully they made sense, and you've taken some tips away with you. So rounding the back, loading the spine, all those kind of things we want to avoid. Wherever possible, you want to keep the back nice and flat and straight, and do the corrective exercises like the hamstring stretches in a nice neutral spine position. So as I mentioned earlier, I've now got some of these Facebook Lives on the vlogs section of the website, which is www.mypilatestrainer.co.uk/vlogs. I nearly did it again then. So head there. If you've missed any of them, you can catch up with them. And whilst you're there, sign up to the email list, and you'll get some more hints and tips and videos and things via email. So I hope that was helpful. Thank you very much again for joining live. The next one will be on Thursday at 1 p.m. So join me then Thursday, and in the meantime, if you have any questions, just post them in the comments section below, and I will see you Thursday. Have a great day.